This podcast is supported by patrons. You can find a full list of them in the description of this episode. Hello, listeners of Good Morning BSS World podcast. This is Wiktor, Doktor from Poland, where we are recording a nice chats about business destinations worldwide. This time we are going to Moldova, and this is first time actually we are going to talk about this country. But to be more, let's say, precise, we are connecting not only to Moldova today, but to UK as well. And why? You will hear it about in a second. But first, let's go to Moldova, where my special guest is Marina Bzovii. Hi, Marina, how are you?
I'm doing great. Hi, I'm Marina Bzovii. I'm representing the Moldova Innovation Technology Park from Moldova. And I think later I can explain what Moldova is because some of the people from the audience might not know exactly where we are located.
Yes, exactly. So we will answer this question in a second. But before we do that, we are going from Moldova to London to UK, where is based Andrew Wrobel from Emerging Europe. Hi, Andrew.
It's amazing to be here. Thanks, Wiktor, for inviting us. And yes, my name is Andrew Wrobel. I'm the founding partner of Emerging Europe, and we're obviously looking at Moldova as an interesting business location at the moment.
And basically, this is you and Emerging Europe who have created this opportunity to talk about Moldova, because you have recently prepared a very nice report describing the IT industry and IT environment within this country. And before we will go deeper into this subject, let's answer to this question which you, Marina, actually have given us in the very, very beginning of your introduction. So where Moldova is?
We actually, all Moldovans have a special short description about where Moldova is. It's not Maldives, for sure. We are located between Ukraine and Romania. We speak Romanian, and this is our main language that we actually have. It's the native tongue, but we are very close to all the ex-Soviet countries in terms of culture, in terms of how we think and so on. But in the same time, we are a good bridge towards the European Union because Moldova is now in the process of adhering to the European Union. So once again, a very small country, a bridge between ex-Soviet country and Europe, between Ukraine and Romania.
Okay,
if I can add a little bit
Andrew,
to
just
that.
a sec. You will add a few words in a moment, but let's do this a little bit of geography, a little bit more. So not Maldives, but Moldova. So not Asia, but Europe, and actually this eastern part of Europe. But just to add two more things into this geography information. So what's the capital of Moldova, and how many people live in Moldova?
The capital of Moldova is Chisinau. It's right in the middle of the country. We have around 2.5 million people living in Moldova. Somehow Chisinau is centralizing a lot of the population of the country. So we say that it's around 800,000 people, almost 1 million living in the capital of the country.
So I have my answers, and now you, Andrew.
I just wanted to add that it's actually very easy to get from Poland to Moldova and to Chisinau. You have direct flights from Warsaw, and LOT Polish Airlines flies there within less than 1.5 hours. So it's very close to Poland as well.
So it's easier for me than for you?
Probably yes, because I need to get a connecting flight, yes.
Okay, so let's now make this second step. I already mentioned the report, and this is the question, Andrew, to you. You in Emerging Europe are from many years doing a lot of great job when it comes to analyzing the business potential of Europe, and not only, but basically Europe is one of the main destinations which you are describing. You already have it in your even the name, Emerging Europe. So how did it happen that you have focused on Moldova, this 2.5 million inhabitants country, where actually Warsaw has more or less 2.5 million people living in here?
Well, if you look at Emerging Europe, we've been around for over a decade right now, and Moldova has always been one of the countries that emerging Europe has looked at. So it wasn't, an unorthodox exercise that we took a deep dive into the country. In fact, we've been looking at Moldova in our Future of IT report, like I said, for the last few years, and we saw that the country had a lot of potential, especially in the IT sector. If you look at the number of people employed in the IT sector, it's only second, according to our 2023 report. It's only second to Estonia. So if you look at the number of the percentage of people employed in the sector, it's Estonia, and then number two, it's Moldova. So we looked at the country for quite some time, and now last year we teamed up with MITP, and we actually we took a deeper dive into the country. We looked at the verticals, we looked at the confidence of the local companies, and we looked at the perception of Moldova globally as well.
So now I need more details about MITP. Marina, let's go to you. What is MITP? What's the history of this institution, and what does it do on a daily basis?
It's not only the business sector that is focused on tech development in the country and growing the tech development. There is a huge interest from the government to support this sector. This is why MITP was created. And there is continuous support from Moldovan government to continuously increase the term of existence of this, I call it a legal entity that allows all companies that are working in the tech sector to get a fiscal income, a fiscal incentive in the country, but it's actually in the same time a huge pool of specialists that work under the same umbrella or under the same entity. All the companies that are in Moldova virtually register under Moldova IT Park. Why I'm mentioning virtually? Because you don't have to be physically in the office of the IT Park. You have to be located or you have to have a Moldovan company operating from Moldova. What's also keen or important for the IT Park is actually this very easy legal framework in terms of how you report, how you do the work as an entity, and the relationship with the authorities, because everything is super easy, simplified. We have 7 types of taxes included in just one. And it's, I would say, the best taxation system in the whole Europe and Eastern Europe when we talk about tech sector. But besides that, I like to say that IT Park is also about the people or the human capital that this country has. It seems that our education was always focused on STEM education. This is why we have amazing engineers, amazing tech specialists that basically develop products where they're working for clients all over the world. So we have Moldovan companies or investors from Europe, from United States, from Asia. So basically any continent you can think of, we do have some entities linked with MITP. It's a lot I could add, but just in light of the timing, maybe Andrew can add to what I mentioned as well.
I think what is really important is, and this is something Marina mentioned, is that it's that tax incentive, because in the time when a lot of companies are still looking at cost, especially in Central and Eastern Europe, where, for example, in Poland, where that cost of operation has gone significantly higher, I think looking at Moldova would be interesting, because once you hire an individual in Moldova within the MITP framework, and let's assume the salary is 2,000 euros, the individual will actually get that very amount as their net salary. So because of the tax and the way it is constructed. It's not really a personal income tax. It's not really a CIT. It's one single tax that is paid by the company. The cost of an individual, of an employee, is actually the same as given on the paycheck. So that's something really important. And I think Marina mentioned that as well. I think the fact that it is a virtual park, so that you don't really, it's not like a free economic zone or a special economic zone where you literally have to be in a specific location. You can be registered anywhere in Moldova and actually benefit from this tax regime as well.
Okay, so registered anyway in Moldova. So I am from Warsaw. I couldn't be a part of MITP.
Not when you're only in Warsaw, but if you set up an entity in Moldova, you can benefit from the the incentives.
Okay, so this is clear. Best taxation system in Europe. This is what you have mentioned, and it sounds like that. So Andrew and Marina, actually people love numbers, love facts and this kind of stuff. So let's focus now maybe a little bit deeper on some facts about the IT industry in Moldova and about some numbers, facts which you would like to share, which are the result of the report which you have together created, or maybe some extras which weren't included within this report. We already know that this is second to Estonia, country when it comes to the percentage of people who are employed within the IT industry. We already know this taxation, which sounds really interesting, because having the net salary, which is the same as gross, which sounds really great. What else?
Marina, you want to kick it off, or?
I think it's good if we cover a bit of the figures from the study, and then I add up all the other figures that we also work with.
So I think one interesting number is the number of people who are already working in the ICT sector, and we're talking about almost 30,000 people employed in the sector. That number is growing, and also the whole sector is growing exponentially. I would say. There was a very interesting comment from one of the COOs, I think it was, who was interviewed for the in-depth interviews that we did as part of the network of the research, and she said that for her, Moldova was this hole in a donut. So surrounded by all these countries like Ukraine and Romania, then obviously Poland as well, and some other countries in the region, and it was like nothing was happening there. But it's exactly the opposite. And the IT sector has been growing exponentially. Exports, really fast. If I recall correctly, about 40% per annum, which is quite a nice figure. And over the years, and I think a lot of people in Poland will resonate with that, because Moldovan wine has always been very popular in Poland, and has been a traditional import from Moldova. You have to know that the ICT sector has now become more important for the Moldovan economy than the wine production sector. So I think we're talking about very interesting developments in the Moldovan economy.
I don't think it is a good information that IT is more important than wine.
No, it's not. It contributes more to the Moldovan economy than the Moldovan wine.
Maybe somehow those two industries can be connected, some IT technology which will grow the wine production, for example, and import. Anyway, Marina, let's go to you.
We actually have a couple of startups working in the wine industry. So we call it wine tech. It's a vertical that we see it in the country just because we're so good at producing wine. Besides being in the Guinness Book twice in terms of wine cellar and the biggest wine collection in the world, I would say we sell IT services via wine. So we will first invite you to have a sip of Moldovan wine and then get our additional clients in Moldova. So never disregard this industry.
But if I can add something, again going back to the research, one of the things that we did within that research project, we asked companies, CEOs or C-level executives across 7 different markets, including Poland, because of the size of the country and the economy, but also Romania and the US, the UK, France, and Sweden and Germany. And it was really interesting that. Polish companies that Polish CEOs or C-level executives were really interested in teaming up with Moldovan ICT companies. And it's really interesting because Polish companies were actually at the top. So almost 60% of those surveyed said that they would be willing to explore. What I really find interesting is that on the other end of the spectrum, we had Romanian companies, which are technically just across the border, and only 30%, roughly 30% of Romanian C-level executives said that they would team up with Moldovan companies. So I think there's a huge, there's huge potential for Polish and Moldovan companies to work together.
Having said that, if you are touching the relations to other countries, so did you somehow counted that, or maybe it was somehow as the answer within your research activities, who actually works with Moldovan IT industry when it comes to the destinations? Is it as everywhere in the world US market, or maybe you have some other destinations which are quite clearly defined and shown as the business partners for Moldovan IT industry?
From the perspective of the research, I would say there's a lot of American companies working with Moldova. There's also one thing that is interesting is that Moldova is traditionally a francophone country. So because of the language, there's a lot of connection with France and Belgium as well. There are actually companies from those markets present in Moldova as well. Of course, the UK is present. I mean, technically, you have companies from a lot of different geographies, but I think because of the sheer size of the US market, there are quite a few very interesting companies that have been in Moldova for quite some time already.
We don't have companies which are incorporated directly from Asia, but we have companies working directly with Asian market. Here, giving as an example, the gaming industry, which is a vertical flourishing in the country. We do have our own companies that develop their games from the beginning till the end, including design. Some of them are selling them on European market, but of course, Asian market is the number one go-to when we talk about gaming and animation industry, because it's somehow creative industry connected together. I also wanted to bring a couple of figures, by the way. In terms of numbers, the IT park gives predictability to any company up to 2036. So until 2035, we have a state guarantee. Any government, anyone who comes in, it doesn't matter. There is a state guarantee from the state that this regime will be here. The IT park will continue existing, and it gives so much predictability for anyone interested in the sector, just because it's close to Europe, but in the same time, it gives you basically a long-term visibility on what's going to happen. I think what's also interesting is I won't give numbers in terms of revenue, but just to mention that the growth of the sector compared to before the IT park was created and after, because that's easier for us to somehow give some figures. It didn't double. It multiplied basically about 5 times. I mean here the revenue of the companies. and the growth of the human capital engaged in the sector has doubled since the IT Park was created. Plus, in terms of what companies or what countries do we work with, 90% of the IT sector is working towards exports. This is another number. This is why we have been working with almost all the countries or all the areas that are focusing on IT. Now we see some of the residents untapping regions that are not that popular, and I think they're looking for additional opportunities because they already reached quite a good amount of clients from United States, from Europe, or from Asia, and we see a lot of potential in this sense as well.
90% of export, yes?
90% is going towards the exports. 10% is local market. Local market meaning development of products here. Just to give you another number, we are quite good in terms of digitalization. So we do have quite a big amount of companies and services delivered on the local market. More than 50% of Moldovan public services are digital. So when we talk about second next to Estonia, it's also because of that, because a lot of things can be done remotely. And especially if you are an investor, you have an electronic signature, Moldovan electronic signature, then you can easily have access to almost all the public services available on the market. And we continuously working on that. When I say we, it's private sector together with the government, and together with all the providers which are there on the market, and of course local authorities that specifically work on digital solutions for the government.
This is exactly what I wanted to highlight, because from my perspective, and when I look at a specific market, there's a couple of things that I always look at, and the level of public services and digitalization of these public services is essential for me. And I have to say that I'm really impressed by the commitment of the government, especially the deputy prime minister, who's been leading the efforts to digitalize. And when I was speaking to him last time, he told me that his wife is Estonian, so probably there is this connection with Estonia.
We call
here
it
as well.
inspiration.
Inspiration, yes. So it's really it's really exemplary to see this commitment of the government. And I think the other thing that I look at is also the ecosystem. So by the ecosystem, I mean how entrepreneurial in this case the Moldovans are. And I can see this is a small market, so you don't see, and certain efforts have been going on only for a few years, but you already see developments in that area, and you see VCs really interested in looking at Moldova. But one thing that I also want to emphasize is, and it is related to this ecosystem, is the existence and role of the support organizations. So if you look at some other markets in our region that have been trying to promote themselves as a tech destinations or GBS destination or BPO, whatever we call them, and you look at Moldova, you will see that in Moldova you have had organizations that support the sector for quite some time already. So we're not talking about something that popped up suddenly, last year because someone had an idea. We're talking about an organization called ATIC, which Marina used to run as the executive director, that was set up in 2006. So we're talking about an organization that's been around for 20 years almost. And on top of that, there's a number of others. So I think that already shows you the maturity of the market.
We need to approach to the end, but I have two last remaining questions. And one of them is about the typical profile of IT companies in Moldova. Is it rather the local capital, so the Moldovan companies who have been created and they are supporting the rest of the world, providing various services, or those are rather the international companies who have opened their branches or daughter companies within Moldova and providing services from Moldova?
I would say we have quite a good mix, of course, because of the turnover of the big players, meaning the ones which are coming from outside, not from outside, but I mean the big entities that established a branch in Moldova, their numbers are bigger in terms of revenue, and they might seem as a bigger chunk of the sector itself. But when coming to the numbers, we do have a lot of local companies, 100% local. Of course, their turnover is a bit smaller, also related to the exits they have, but it's a really good mix. And I like to say it's a good mix because I've worked with them for more than 5 years, and it's so nice to see a good combination of huge outsourcing companies or huge offices of big entities where their headquarters is in France, in UK, in United States, in Romania, in Belgium. All of them are present on the local market with quite big teams. But we have those local companies that also work together with the big tech entities and collaborate for the development of the sector. And why I'm saying it's a good combination, because the locals, together with the big tech entities, they promote a good investment opportunity for the country by having or advocating for long term of the fiscal regime which we have now. It's all because of the leverage that came from the private sector. Of course, there is a lot of support from the government, but it doesn't come without the private sector asking for it. And it's coming from both areas, local entities and international branches of companies. I think we have a good mix also of international branches of companies, because in Moldova, everyone speaks at least two languages. This is like for us something that we are so used to. If somebody speaks just one language, for us it's weird in a way, because most of us actually possess 3, 4, or even 5 languages at a very good level, I would say. I myself know 4 languages, and I can easily switch from one to another. And this is common for us. This is not surprising. So a lot of the branches that we have in Moldova has probably some linkage to the fact that Moldovans are multilingual.
So now myself and Andrew, we need to learn more languages.
Yes, definitely. I only speak 3, so I'm far behind you.
Me too. Anyway, the last but not the least question is, if somebody after listening to this podcast would like to get more information about Moldova, more information about the IT industry or ecosystem in Moldova, or about details from the report which we were mentioning in here, where you would direct that person, where to go to find more information?
It's, of course, our website, www.mitp.md. And you have my name. You can easily also reach out to me on LinkedIn. This is the working platform for all the tech industry. I'll happily reach out to you or answer you, and then also connect you to our teams. We'll also have all the reports on the website. And of course, this is the most important one now, but there you can also find useful information about the growth of the sector, how to apply, how to become a resident, generally about the industry, and so on. And I think Andrew can share additional channels where the report is.
Yes, so the report is also available on the Emerging Europe website, which is emerging-europe.eu. moldova.com/reports. All our reports are available there, and you can always reach out to me, and I'll be happy to connect those who are interested in teaming up with Moldova with the appropriate stakeholders.
Guys, thank you very much. I will also make sure to add the links to the description of this podcast. I made 2 pages of notes of this, what you were telling me, including the wine tech, which is a new discovery for me. And this is something what I will ask other countries if they have wine tech industry, because now I know that at least there is one country in the world where wine tech industry is present, and it's very attractive from taxation perspective for people who work within this industry. Marina, Andrew, thank you very much for today.
Thank you very much for inviting us and talking about Moldova.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.